Everyone is speaking out about this as we have multiple Celtics updates on Jaylen Brown and the discussion of his MVP candidacy, plus an injury update on Derrick White and his struggles throughout January and why you should not be worried about D. White going forward. Welcome in to Celtics Digest, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. We've got lots to dive into. Why don't we go ahead and jump into it? Jaylen Brown is playing at an MVP level. I think we can all assess and see that with our own eyes. But for Boston Celtics fans and Celtics Nation, we expected nothing less than what JB has been doing this season. Now, the national media ranked him as a guy who couldn't be a number one. He couldn't lead the Celtics. He couldn't do what he is doing in this season, and finally, he's getting the recognition that he deserves without Jayson Tatum. Now, you add these two things together, and it causes the national media world to start considering him for MVP candidacy and maybe even doing more than just considering him. And tonight it kind of accumulated all with an NBA, show going on. Chris Bosh actually had an interesting quote saying that he believes that Jaylen Brown should be the MVP. He says, quote, "Can we give Jaylen Brown some credit? He should be the MVP. I think he's the front runner in my opinion. He's playing amazing basketball. Nobody slotted Boston to be second and Jaylen to be playing the way he is." And this is all great news. And again, us as Celtics fans expected this. But the fact of the matter is, people didn't see Jaylen Brown the way the Boston Celtics fans did and the way that he has been playing. And there's a lot of ranks that actually back up Chris Bosh's statement. And I want to dive into those here in just a moment. Before we get into the rest of the show, though, today, I want to remind you that this video is brought to you by Kalshi. And if you download Kalshi using the link in the description and you use code DIGESTNBA, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much anything. Now, whether you're in California, Texas, Massachusetts, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is now live in all 50 states. For sports fans, we can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Now, if we look at the upcoming game versus the Brooklyn Nets, I'm not going to trade on the actual game because I have got wholehearted confidence in the Celtics. But what I am going to trade on is them winning by 11.5 points or more. A $100 trade will get you $228 back on Kalshi. It's genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Again, download Kalshi with the link in the description, and don't forget to use this code DIGESTNBA to get your $20 bonus. So, Jaylen Brown is fantastic amongst the Boston Celtics. That, of course, is to be expected when you're getting MVP discussions because it's in the name. Most valuable player. He's been the most valuable player to the Celtics. I think in terms of taking one person off a team, if you took Jaylen Brown, it would cause more disruption than maybe some others would. Now, he's first in points for the Celtics, second in rebounds, third in assists, second in steals, and he's tied for first in minutes with Derrick White at 34.1. But he's not just first in points on the Celtics. He's fifth in the NBA right now in points behind Luka, SGA, Maxey, and Ant. So this obviously all kind of pushes on the argument for Chris Bosh saying that he is the MVP. Now, obviously, there's going to be differentiating opinions. Obviously, there's going to be people saying, oh, well, the people are more valuable than Jaylen Brown. But what the Boston Celtics are doing has to be taken into consideration. I mean, it's like Chris Bosh said. No one really expected for the Celtics to be where they are right now. I mean, second in the Eastern Conference, looking like potentially the best team in the Eastern Conference. They've beaten the Pistons, and yes, the Pistons are doing fantastic. Cade Cunningham has led that team to a world of greatness, but the big thing is the expectations. And Pistons, although people can expect them to go to the playoffs and see what they are and understand that, I think knowing that the Celtics have some firepower left in the tank with the potential of Tatum returning, the potential of them being buyers at the deadline, and we know Brad Stevens and we know the ability and capabilities he has when he makes his moves, I just am very excited to see what the rest of the season holds. And I think that is very much in the minds of everybody that Jaylen Brown could easily be the MVP of the National Basketball Association this season, especially if the Celtics continue on what they have been doing throughout this season. and more particular over the past couple games or so. I mean, he's really continued to ball out. So I ask you the question today. I think a lot of these are going to be why for yeses, but I want to ask the questions anyway. Do you think that Jaylen Brown deserves the MVP right now? If you were to vote, if you had a vote in the MVP and we had to vote today, would you give it to Jaylen Brown? If you would, then I want you to type Y for yes in the comment section. If you would not, then I want you to type in for no. Again, let me know your opinion down in the comments. I think I would give my vote to him. I think that's a pretty obvious take. I've kind of been pushing for it in the video, but also I can tell how important Jaylen Brown is. I can tell how much he means to this team and how different this season would be if he wasn't on the team. Now, the Celtics have built a very good roster, and Brad Stevens is, in my opinion, the best GM in the NBA right now, with the way he is able to dissect talent. Now, that, of course, leads to these players being better than maybe people expected to, but Jaylen Brown is also a factor of that, of making the players around him better. I mentioned Derrick White at the top of this show. We do have our injury report coming out for tomorrow's game. Josh Minott, he'll be out again with that left ankle sprain. Jayson Tatum, because they continuously keep putting him on the injury report. I'm excited because one day he's just not going to be on the injury report, and that's the way they're going to announce he's playing. It's not going to be a big tweet or that he's back or anything. He's just not going to be on the injury report one day. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Derrick White, though, is out tomorrow with a rest day. And this is something that I think everybody has been wanting for Derrick White. He's kind of struggled over the past 5 games, and in January in general, it's just not been a smooth sailing month. 10 points per game, 6.4 on the assist, 5.8 rebounds, but his field goal percentage and three-point percentage really have struggled at 30 and 16.7. It's just not what you expect from what is considered to be a sharp shooter and Derrick White. Now, I'll take the assists, I'll take the rebounds. Those are upper echelon of the NBA levels right there, but the points per game, especially when we are relying on him to be a number 2, it's been strugglesome comparative to his other stats as well. But if I told you this was nothing new, would you believe me? Because it actually isn't. In fact, we have reports that January is always a strugglesome month for Derrick White. Chris Forsberg of NBC Sports Boston saying over his first 4 full seasons with Boston, White's scoring averages and shooting percentages are all the lowest in January as compared to other regular season months. And a little hard to see, but I'm going to throw up the picture anyway. You can kind of see his averages, for whatever reason, in January over the across of 4 years now, have always dipped. His field goal shooting, his three-point percentage, and his points per game. So kind of like we just showed you, the assists, the rebounds, the ability of the basketball player is still there, but his shooting percentages are just down. And it's really something that we have seen year in and year out, but we've also seen that in February, he boosts up and has his best percentages of the year. So I think for everybody who is sitting here maybe a little bit worried about Derrick White, I think it's valid, but at the same time, I think we can expect for him to take a big bounce back month in we're talking less than 10 days at this point. I mean, we're in the back end of January. So hopefully that thing can kind of come into advancement. We know the type of player that he has been this season. We know the type of player that he can be for the Boston Celtics. And I think we're just waiting and expecting for him to get back to that level. He's been fantastic this season with and without January, still averaging 17.6 points per game with a 4.6 rebounds and 5.4 assists. And again, he's averaging the first, or rather tied for the first in minutes per game with the Celtics alongside Jaylen Brown. So I think a rest day is just something, you're facing off against a Brooklyn Nets team that you really don't expect much out of, which is, again, why I'm going to be trading on Kalshi with the spread rather than the game, because I think the Celtics could win this game by 15 points. I mean, I really could. But to make that point clear, I really do think it's, hey, let's take a break. He's also played in 42 of 43 games. So this is a much-needed game where there's no pressure. Just relax it. I mean, the Celtics are doing fantastic. Obviously, the Eastern Conference is something that, well, I think we can all agree the Western Conference is just a little more packed, but doesn't mean that the ability and the depth of the Eastern Conference is not there. And you're facing a team that has 12 wins on the season. You should be able to go in here and compete and win without any worry. At least that's the hope. But of course, we'll find out tomorrow and see if JB can put on another MVP type performance. That's all we got for you here tonight on this late night edition of Celtics Digest. We appreciate you watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day or rest of your night. Or if it's the new day, have a great rest of your Friday. But for now, guys, we do appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.